Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I'm your host, Catryn Becker. We love to say around here that a smart person learns from their mistakes while a genius learns from others. So, in this podcast, we bring experts from all over the place. We have you name it, we've got it. We've got CEOs, we've got executives, we've got restaurateurs, business owners, actors, producers. I mean, everyone comes on here and they all talk about their story and what they have learned in business so that you can learn from them, so that you either avoid the mistakes or help you to fail faster. So today is a new spin. I love bringing new people and new insight into different things that maybe you haven't thought about and ways that it can apply to you in your business, even if it's not a direct match. So my guest today, her name is Nicolette Halladay, and she is the CEO and founder of Inspired Hearts Publishing. She is like a concierge for self-publishing, really helping people to get their voice heard, get their story out there in a unique way, and something that's been around for years and years and years and years. So Nicolette, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Catryn. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll just got to tell the backstory of how you and I met because it's totally relevant and it's going to come up in some point in this conversation because how could it not?
Let's get it out there.
Right? Okay, so the year was it only 2022?
2022.
Goodness gracious. We've had lifetimes in between then. But it was the beginning of 2022. And I like to sit down at the beginning of every year and do some sort of goal setting, vision boarding, just dreaming big about, what could come next. And as you guys, all the regular listeners know, I have an engineering background. So something you might not know about engineers is we don't take a lot of English classes, very heavy on the math and science. And I had it come into my heart that I needed to write a book. And I thought, where did this come from? Like, that's so weird. But I put it on the vision board because it came to me. And literally, it was either the same day or the next day. I open up Facebook and the first post I see is from Nicolette. I don't know her from Jane. I don't know her at all. And saying, what would you think about writing your own book? Or do you have a story to tell or something like that? And it completely piqued my interest. And I reached out and we ended up publishing a book together called The Voyage and the Return, The Path to Self-Discovery. So it was something I was not looking for, yet it found me. And I am so grateful for you for being that person and creating that space for other storytellers.
I love it. I love that I got to be the manifestation come to fruition for your vision board. It's so instantaneously. And absolutely. So it's incredible what can happen when we set powerful intentions. I know we both have a similar philosophy on that. So
yes, we do. And it's totally cool to talk about it on this podcast if you feel called to. But tell me more about how you came to be in the publishing space and what your relationship with books and writing and reading.
Yeah, so I have a long history of project management in corporate, and eventually transitioned into starting my own virtual assistant agency, and had been doing that for several years. It was right around the pandemic, everything kind of in person stopped, and I went to an online networking event, and the woman who was facilitating that call said, I support women in starting publishing companies, and I think some of them might be able to use your help. So I inevitably really found this niche of supporting boutique publishers, and really just fell in love with the industry, watching people be able to share their story, having such an impact. And so shortly after, I decided to take the leap and go all in and start my own publishing company. And have been moving forward with that ever since. So
I love it. And I think there's it's something people don't really think about, like how a book gets made.
Oh, wow. Yes, there is. And the funny thing about it is there's so much involved in bringing a book to fruition, literally just having a book in your hands. And so there's a lot of moving parts, not even talking about all the effort and energy that goes into writing the book, but just to produce a beautiful book that is going to be, interesting for people to want to read. And so, yeah, it's it's an incredible aligned industry for my experience and the vision I have for the world, which is to really support people in being able to share more of themselves and to use this incredible platform of publishing, which is tried and true, and people value books and authorship still so much to this day. And we have this, new self-publishing opportunity. And so people who, typically maybe wouldn't have been able to write or publish a book are able to today. And I love to be able to bring that to people's realization and show them how to make that possible.
I mean, it's definitely a labor of love. Like, it was not easy. And I know I had to face quite a few internal obstacles in order to get the words out on page. And, I think I wrote like 3 or 4 different versions before it came out with the story that ended up in the book. I mean, it was completely different because it is such a personal thing to get it out. But I think the thing I love the most is, and I want to talk a little bit about AI as well, but how much our world has changed and how much certain things have fallen out of fashion, maybe is the right word. With the advent of technology, like, you think about how everyone used to have a bazillion newspapers, there were so many being published, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I know it's a huge amount of newspapers that have gone out of business,
Yeah.
and magazines, so much of that. Yet there's still something about cracking open that book for the first time that Kindle will never replicate, that you don't get from listening to audiobooks. I mean, there is something ingrained in our DNA almost for a love of books.
Yeah.
What is that? Where does it come from? And do you think there'll ever be a place where maybe books aren't wanting that we
Become
don't want books?
obsolete.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not for a lot of reasons, but I think what is it? I think it's the brink of a new adventure or the opportunity just sitting there in our hands, and like the journey that we're going to go on. Books, for so many people, we all have that experience of a book that's kind of, transformed the way we thought or helped us, envision a new reality for a couple hours, or, created a connection that we with ourselves or other people that we didn't recognize before. And so the art of storytelling is, it's prehistoric. There is something in us that wants to tell our stories. We have this ingrained part of us that wants to share our experiences. And we know that we can do that through books. And it's such an opportunity to connect with other people.
After becoming an author myself, walking through a Barnes and Noble is a totally different experience, because when you're perusing for your next book,
Mm.
you're just kind of going through the shelves looking, but not realizing how much energy and effort went into each and every single title that are on those shelves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I
kind of
mean,
mind blowing.
it gives you just this level of reverence for, it's like, wow, and the people who are like, hey, I have something to say and I'm going to take all of my time and energy to share it with you. That's an incredible gift and, like offering. And so I think, yeah, books just have such a ability to transform us. So I think that's one of the things that is so amazing about them.
So if you're thinking back, what book is the most pivotal in
Mm.
in your life, the most transformative, the most memorable?
Oh, there's been so many. A book that I often talk about is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And um, not just the book, but the exercises that he recommends, the meditations, really just it transformed my life. So, there's other books though also that like The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, that just
I love that one.
opened up this realization of things that, I didn't know before, and really brought me into this new reality. So, I'm definitely more of a nonfiction, even though recently I just read the book, The Midnight Library. Oh no, I don't remember the author. And that was an amazing fiction book too. So, fiction, there's something really sweet about fiction too.
We'll find it and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had an experience. So my son is an avid reader. I mean, he gobbles up books.
I
Um,
love it.
so we go to the library regularly where he's getting, 6, 7, 8 books, and he just powers through them. And we'd gotten a book for my mom. She asked for The Shell Seekers,
Mm,
by Robin Pilcher, I think is her name. If not, I'll make sure it's correct in the show notes. But she had read it when she was my age, right? When she was in her 40s.
mm,
And it's about a mother and daughter relationship. So, of course, when she read it in her 40s, she related to the daughter character. And
mm.
she'd asked me to see if there was any other books by that same author. And that was the only one that was in the library. And even though she had read it, she was like, yeah, go ahead and get it for me. I'll reread it. And she was astounded now being in her, 60s, late 60s, that now she's resonating with the mother and
Uh,
how it relates to her and I's relationship. And I just thought that is such an incredible power of storytelling that, even if you've read a book before, the time and space difference and experience that we can have in our lives, how it transforms how we see each of the characters. And I think that ability of books is so transcendent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the most remarkable thing, especially about writing a book, is our ability to connect with, connect our vision, connect our mission, connect our expertise, our understanding with other people, and maybe open up their horizons and help them see things differently, or connect with something that they already had really resonated with. It's such an incredible uh, tool for connecting with other people that I think that's probably my favorite thing about books.
Okay, so let's bring this back to the business piece because I think we could have like a whole series of episodes on our love for books, but it is a business that you run
Mm.
and
That's
it
right.
is a service that you are providing for people. So, can you go a little bit more into why someone would want to author their books outside of just it feels good to get your story out and to connect with other people? What are some of the other benefits they can experience?
Absolutely. So, well, a book is I was at a networking event the other day, and someone said, if you don't have a book, you don't have a business. And that wasn't me, that was someone else who said that. Because it's almost an expectation, especially for consultants, coaches, people who are really thought leaders or leading other people through transformation, to have a book. It's an incredible opportunity to differentiate yourself. So I have a client an author who published a book called Level Up Your Med Spa, and she is a medical spa owner. She also teaches other medical med spa people how to really make the most out of that experience. And so she wrote and published a book with me, and she was right away, right out of the gate, before her book was even published. She's also a representative for some of the equipment that she uses. The equipment manufacturer contacted her and said they wanted to really market her book to other people who are doing the same thing. So right away, right out of the gate, it's an opportunity for her. Like now she's not just a sales rep. She's
Yeah.
also, the main,
The face.
she's the face of this, being the face of this particular manufacturer. So, talk about differentiating yourself. Even before the book was published, they automatically saw her as, highlighted her and wanted to really promote what she was sharing.
Oh, and that's so fantastic. I mean, business cards, as far as like the previous 3x5, or gosh, I don't even know what the dimensions are, but the business cards that people passed out, especially through COVID, it already kind of been going out of fashion for people to be passing those around. But I mean, now to have like a book as a business card, what a great way for people to learn more about what you do. And of course, it's always a deeper that it goes. So I think it's being a thought leader. It's a great way to do that and to highlight yourself in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really the opportunity to not only articulate, but also, promote your message. There is a level of really confidence that comes through that process, that is hard to match in other avenues, because you are putting yourself out there. You're really saying, hey, I wrote and published this book. I think you should read it. And it's like you mentioned before, when, there's a lot of kind of things that come up for us when we're being visible in this new way. And I see those as opportunities for growth, because really we move through those things and we become more confident in our next endeavor.
Absolutely. Well, I guess social media is such a fleeting experience. You
Mm,
think about the scroll and you're just
mm,
flicking through things. It's very temporal, very, very fleeting.
yeah.
And I love the physical nature of actually having a book. I mean, you think of human evolution, like the amount of time that we've had anything digital is like a
Oh,
blip.
it's like a minuscule amount, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So important, because it's like social media, it feels like a hamster wheel. And I mean, it's an incredible platform, right? We've all made some incredible connections, and there's some benefits that have come, but also anyone can post anything. There isn't a real level of, there's no entry level, like,
Yeah.
and so publishing in a book, which, The Voyage and the Return was a multi-author book. So that is one of the avenues that I, take people through, or a solo book. It's really a level of commitment. You really have to have a little more reverence. You show up and you say, okay, what's mine to share, and how do I want to present it to the world? So it's a very much more thoughtful, pursuit. And it's also something that sticks with people. I mean, you can post something on social media and someone's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to remember that forever. But you hand someone a book you wrote, even if they don't read it, they're going to remember you wrote and authored that book.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're so right. So let's talk about, so that's the good of what you do, right?
Yeah.
But we got to get into the bad and the ugly. Otherwise I wouldn't be living up to the show promise.
We have to leave. We have to go into that. Okay, let's go.
We got to go down into that so we can go back and end on the good.
Okay.
So what are some of the misconceptions that people have when they hear what you do, or when you're reaching out to people about becoming an author? What's kind of the biggest thing that people get wrong?
Some of the biggest misconceptions is that you're going to make a lot of money off of your book, which there is ways to make money. And usually it involves like positioning yourself, to sell your own products and services if you're an entrepreneur, or to, open the door to opportunities for people to really recognize you. But not necessarily off the proceeds of a book, unless you have a massive audience and, really well positioned. you're not going to make a ton of money off the proceeds of a book. So I hate to bust your bubble. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but the likelihood of it is less than most people think. So that's a big thing. And then the thing that I probably hear the most is, you want me to pay you to publish a book. And people take a lot of offense to that. And it's funny because, like we're saying, the effort that goes into producing a book is incredible. And I like to kind of equate it to a mechanic, right? I'm not a mechanic. I don't try to fix my car because I have no idea. But people are mechanically inclined and they can fix their own cars. And so they decide to go that route. I am going to pay someone else who knows what they're doing and, to guide me through the process and help me keep up with all the pieces of keeping my car functional. And really self-publishing is a very similar, thing. Can you self-publish your own book? Absolutely. Do people do it? Yes, they absolutely do. Is it for everyone? No. And a lot of people just don't want to take the time to figure out all the ins and outs of publishing. They'd rather partner with someone like me who's done it, 20 plus times, so that I can show them all the best ways to not only go about the publishing, but how to utilize that book in their business. Because I think that is where a lot of people fall short. So those are probably the two kind of biggest misconceptions that I come across.
And I think what's great about you, especially from my perspective and what I've seen from working with you and being friends with you for the last 2 years, is that you're always improving. You're taking something that you've learned from every single book that you've published and are tweaking your processes, making it better, making it, a more robust, whatever the process is, making it better for the next iteration. And I think that's something that any business owner, any person working can take from that. Like, every time you do something, what's the learning here? Even if it went great.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end of every project, I say, what went great, what went, what can be improved, and there's a third one. It escaped me, but, really looking at, okay, what went great, what can be improved, and what went bad? Is there something that just needs full on attention? So, yeah, it's definitely been a progression for me. And I think that is the other thing that I hope to really emulate in the world, is just keep learning and growing. And that's how we get there. We have this idea that things have to be perfect, or that things are going to be perfect. And it's such a false reality. And it keeps a lot of people from doing the things that they really want to do, such as writing and publishing a book, So if the idea of perfectionism is going to keep you stuck, it's do you want to, how important is that thing to move through? And is it worth, having something that you've done, you've grown a ton, you learned a ton, and you've accomplished this big thing? Or do you want to sit there in perfectionist mode and say, oh, I hope to do that someday?
Absolutely. And I think what helped me a lot in terms of the price is it's marketing.
Yeah.
It's marketing dollars. Like, you wouldn't have a brochure and expect the people to just print it for you for free. Right?
Absolutely. Yes, exactly.
Or even like a graphic designer to just design a brochure.
Anything you do. Seriously, it's energy and effort. And I think, the important thing for people to recognize is it is marketing, but it's also message clarity. There's so much clarity that comes through your message when you sit down to write a story. It's connecting, if you're, it's connecting with your audience. And if it's a multi-author book, you have the opportunity to connect with other people's audiences too. There's a good chance you maybe never would have gotten the opportunity to get in front of them. I went that networking call that someone said, if you don't have a book, you don't have a business. I was in a group, and it was a speakers group. So people who were either speaking or looking for speakers. And we had these breakout sessions, and so there were 6 of us in this group. Every single one of us had a published book. So it's really there's it's the bar is raised. People are expecting it, you know? And so as far as like getting speaking opportunities or on podcasts like this one, you know, and you can say, hey, I, you know, have published, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and I have this book, automatically it's a door opener.
Yeah. And I think it's important what the book looks like, because there's been some people that I've, heard, oh, they wrote a book, and I go look at it and I go, oh, they
Right.
did that
A
themselves.
bad book, a bad book can be there is this caveat, because a bad book can be as bad for your business as a good book can be good.
But, we do judge the books by its cover.
We do. We judge a book by its cover. We absolutely do. Yeah. So cover design matters. Yeah.
Which is another piece of this. I mean, that's one of the amazing things that you're offering, is having professionals, because it makes a difference.
It absolutely makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. And I think so, as far as, anyone who is kind of skeptical, like, why would I publish to write my own words? I mean, why would you pay to have someone build you a website? Why would you pay someone to help you get featured in media? Why would you? I mean, you can pretty much go across the spectrum as far as marketing is concerned. And, there's always two routes if you want to do something. There's the do-it-yourself route, or there is the pay an expert to help, expedite that process for you.
Right. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for time, because time is the one thing that we can never get back.
Yeah. And, the other thing I think is so important, I helped a woman publish a book, Larger Than Life. And it was about the loss of her son. She, he fell sick to cancer very quickly, passed away. She had this healing journey. It's taken her 10 years in the making. And it was an emotional toll for her to share and to write and then to edit. And if you don't have someone there holding space for you through the visibility part, there's a good chance it's just never, your book isn't going to make it to market. Because it's easy to let the weight of all that is coming through, just weigh you down to the point where you say, and I just don't have it in me. So I think there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. Yes, the packaging and creating a beautiful cover and having it beautifully formatted so that people, open a book and it looks very professional and, intriguing. People want to read it. Having it uploaded on the various platforms so that, you can buy it on sites like Amazon or Barnes and Noble, having all of that, but also having someone who's saying, just guiding you through the steps so that you don't have to wade through and maneuver through it on your own.
Well, I remember a conversation you and I had a couple of months ago, baby, because I know I've got more books in me. So, I mean, I know they're coming. There's just been a lot of things that I've been doing, like this podcast. But we talked about the different types of editing. And I think you listed like 3 or 4 different kinds of editing that someone could get for their book. And that blew my mind. Do you mind? Do you mind going through kind of just what that is? Again, just to bring awareness to people of
so absolutely. So one of the things that I do is, I am a solo entrepreneur. So I do bring in different people to work on projects with me, but I don't necessarily have like a team. I have contractors that I continue to work with, but I also just am a matchmaker in this publishing space. So people will connect with me and say, okay, I have this manuscript, but, I need an editor. And I'll say, okay, I have some great people. Let me, pull out my Rolodex. That doesn't age me. And let me make these connections. And so it's one of my favorite things to do is point people in the right direction so that they can get the support they need through the publishing process. Just as a way of me just supporting people in this endeavor. It's not something, necessarily that I'm like getting some kind of financial incentive for or anything, just let's get this done. And so, so there is different kinds of editing. There's developmental editing, which is really the process of someone helping you really get what's in your head and make sense out of it, make a good book out of it, right? So they're going to, I know, sometimes you might come to someone with a finished manuscript, but a lot of times developmental editors really want to work with you before you get started. Makes
Sure.
their job a lot easier because they're really helping you come up with the flow and helping you make sense, helping you, with the chapters, what's going to make sense to be able to convey this information. And so it's much more deeper into the actual storyline. There's copy editing, which is really spelling, grammatical, just the typical sentence structure. They might say, let's move this sentence over here. This is going to help the readability, but it's a lot more higher level overview. They're never going to look at the fullness of the book and say, the flow of this book does not make sense to me.
Right. They're not editing content.
Yes. They are editing content in how it's like the readability of the paragraph, so to speak, but not necessarily like the higher
the intent
level
of this, what you're trying to get,
like the
message.
contents of the the full piece of it. And then there's just proofreading, which is exactly what it sounds like, something that a lot of us know from, back in our school days, which is just spelling, grammar, just punctuation, just very, very high level. So making sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted.
I mean, I would have never imagined that there was 3 different people to fill those roles, that wasn't like one and the same.
I mean, some people do all of them, but
Sure.
a lot of developmental editors are not going to be your proofreaders. So,
I mean, that sounds like a completely different skill set.
Yeah.
A completely different set of strengths to do those 2 things.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things, one of the books that I just recently put out is called Get Published, Industry Experts Share Their Secrets. And it's a book compilation of people working in the industry, in the publishing industry, because there is misconceptions. And really, I wanted to bring to light that there's these people working to support people in accomplishing a dream that so many people have, which is to publish a book. So all the pieces, there's the book coaches, there is the graphic design and the, people who are actually doing like the cover design and formatting. There is the editors, there are the publishers, there's people who work in marketing. There's people who are going to help you use your book to actually do the things that a book is supposed to do, and so there's all these things across the platforms. And if anyone's curious about the process, I definitely suggest grab the book. You're going to get kind of an overview of, wow, there's all these people doing these things. And also you might get an idea for your own book compilation, because that's an amazing way to really bring out your ideas quickly and bring people together. The community that's built around those kinds of projects is like one of my favorite parts about the whole thing. And the partnerships that kind of develop out of that is incredible as well.
So one last thing that I want to touch on, and just because it's the hot thing for 2023, but how is the large scale acceptance of AI language models like ChatGPT? How is that affecting the publishing industry, and kind of what do you see looking forward into, 2024, 2025?
I mean, I think it's going to be a tool. I think it's going to be a resource, and that some people are probably going to try to take it too far and take advantage of it. I've heard of full books being written by ChatGPT, which sounds like the most boring book. Like, who is ever going to want to read that? Oh my gosh. So that, I think there's always a balance. There's always things that we're going to be able to, use and say, oh my gosh, we can do this easier now. So I'm not like 100% against AI, but I also know that the value of mining the gems inside of us is something that I will continue to advocate for, because that I've witnessed authors time and time again come out with more clarity, with more insight, with more impact, because they sat and did the work of writing and, went through the process of publishing their book.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you can't deny the human essence, and that's really what grabs the attention.
I mean, think of your favorite books and think about if those would have been written by AI. I don't see AI. I guess one of my fears is that, we kind of touched on if books, become obsolete at some point. And I think people taking advantage of AI and trying to just, produce really low quality books, that can diminish kind of the experience for people. And that's another reason why partnering with really quality people who are going to support you in the process is so important.
No, couldn't have said that any better. Well, Nicolette, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and insights. What's up next for you, and how can people reach out to work with you?
Absolutely. So, I have multiple things in the works at the moment, but if one thing that I'm really excited that I've been kind of just kicking off recently is a live journaling workshop every Tuesday, 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. People come in on Zoom. I ask questions. We do some live journaling. We reflect. We connect because I believe that is helping people, either get started in the writing process or maybe delve a little deeper in the process. And absolutely love the opportunity to help people connect deeper to themselves and other people. And when you share it in a community, there's something really incredible that happens. So I encourage anyone who's interested to come check me out. Let's see, I'll send you over the link to put in the show notes so people can sign up for that opportunity. It's actually based on a journal that I wrote called Your Inspired Hearts, 101 Creative Journal Sparks. So
Oh,
all
love
of the
that.
journal questions are pulled from this book that I put together. And there's always a theme, and people always walk away feeling super inspired or connected or, encouraged to, because publishing is as much about writing as it is about visibility. And so there's always an element of that in there too.
Absolutely. I know that the actor Matthew McConaughey is a huge fan of journaling. He talks a lot about it in his book Green Lights and some of the work he's been doing since that book came out. So if
Mm.
it's good enough for Matthew, then like,
Come on, you guys, let's go. Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about it is um when you do it in community, it really puts a different kind of spin to, what we would do. So I'm happy to be carving out that time for folks every Tuesday and connecting with people. And it's an awesome opportunity for people who maybe want to use a workbook or journal in bringing, facilitating their own kind of training and kind of seeing how I'm doing it to grow my community and grow my email list and connect with other people who are maybe somewhere along the line of wanting to publish a book.
oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was such an awesome interview and so excited to see it sounds like you have an incredible interview series. So yeah, it's been fun watching this kind of explode for you. It's incredible.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I feel very blessed for all of the incredible guests that I've had the opportunity to meet and connect with, because like you, I just absolutely love the connection piece of it. So for the listeners, thank you so much for staying with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your network. It would mean the world to me. If there's something that you're curious about that you want to learn more about, send me a message. I'd be happy to go find the person and interview them and get all of the juicy questions answered. Until next time, everyone, have a great day.